He has to perform this year. You've done everything outside of probably get him more personnel, which I obviously I think we all feel that way. That's why we talk about the draft. Okay, defensive tackle, defensive end, cornerback. We want those pieces. But in terms of coaching, it does feel like every single position coach has been like re-rostered outside of the defensive coordinator. So this defense hits the field and they're able to produce again. Although they have gotten steadily better, I do think AG is probably going to be on the hot seat. I think AG has performed this season. There's definitely a magnifying glass on him, in my opinion. I mean, Dan Campbell's obviously been quick to – I don't want to say quick. No, I actually would say quick because you got the situation with Aubrey Pleasant where I don't believe you even got to finish that first season, or maybe he got fired in the second season. But Dre Bly only there the one season. John Scott Jr. only there the one season. Like, they are quick to pull a trigger if you're not performing. And AG's been here, 3 years? It'll be his 4th year now. He's not able to produce, which I assume they're going to give him the pieces to work with. And, they might have to get – they want to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do think that Aaron Glenn is getting towards the hot seat, but you got to get him some more players before you can really judge him. You got to get him a cornerback one and another guy on that interior defensive line or an edge rusher, and then we can truly judge him. And that's my thought process on it. Because in spots, we've seen this defense look very good. In stretches, we've seen this defense look very good. Look at what he did to the rush defense last year. He completely turned it around. He completely made the rush defense, which was one of the worst in the NFL, to the best in the NFL in 1 year. And that is extremely impressive, especially without being given this top-flight, top-shelf talent that you see on the offense. But now you have some of that. You've got Aiden Hutchinson as a blue-chip guy. You've got guys like Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Ali McNeil, a lot of guys that we have a lot of hope for of being very good players, Pro Bowl caliber players in this league. And you're going to get some more talent this year. You're going to. I wholeheartedly believe that. So this very well could be the turning point for Aaron Glenn this season.
Do you think in having the changes in the coaching staff, I'm sure that's AG communicating with Dan Campbell on that too, because as much as like Dan Campbell makes the final say, that is like AG's side of the ball, so he probably like has that discussion with him. Do you think AG kind of like finally put his foot down, like, yo, give me some fucking pieces here to work with too, like, so this isn't a fucking thing we're doing every year, like replenishing the coaching staff, getting rid of guys? Nick?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a guy that's scared to voice his opinion. I'm sure him and Dan do have those tough discussions. But the one thing I wanted to say about AG, and we all saw it come the end of the year, our defense finally started to play better. We started causing more turnovers. What did the AG do? He started blitzing. We were waiting for it all season. We needed to bring extra pressure, and he finally did that. So if AG starts the season and we start rushing for like it's same old game, same old practice as the start of last season, I'm going to be pissed off.
That.
I'm going to be irritated because when we bring pressure, this team gets interceptions, forces fumbles, gets sacks, and that's how this team needs to start next season. We heard Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Branch talk about it. They needed to get back to what AG actually is, and it's being aggressive. So he just cannot stray away from that.
Yeah, you can't have the stretch that we've had in both of these past years where it's like, oh, we're figuring it out. You know, it's the getting to know you stage. It's, oh, you're so cute. What's your favorite show? No, you need to be from the jump. You need to be firing on all cylinders from the jump. You know what you have personnel-wise. You know the scheme you want to run. You know the strengths and weaknesses of this defense. So come into the season with a concrete plan of how you're going to use them effectively, how you're going to cover up the weaknesses, and what you're going to attack teams with. You don't have the opportunity this year to be, pussyfooting around and trying different things. You are in a Super Bowl race. You are in Super Bowl contention.
Yeah.
You need to be firing on all cylinders from week one, have a solidified and understandable scheme from week one, and continue that. Make adjustments when they had to be made, but don't, like Nick said, don't start pussying around at the beginning and then week 9 or week 10, like, oh yeah, maybe I should have been doing this all year. No, do it all year. You know who you got. You know the strengths. Use them.
Yeah, I got to message Noah actually, because I think that's the biggest takeaway from the day for me is like, yeah, AG's probably gonna be on the hot seat. And my question from then is like, what do you expect? What do you expect to come from it? You think the defense gonna take a big jump?
Mm-hmm.
or you kind of wait to see what happens for the roster?
I think it will. I think when they address it, I'm not going to say they're going to take the same jump as the rush defense did last year, but I could see this pass defense taking a pretty big jump. And that in turn will make, if you still have a top 3 run defense in the NFL and your pass defense jumps from fucking 30th or whatever they were this year to the mid-teens, that means you're a top 10 defense in the NFL. And I think they have a very good possibility of doing that, depending on who they add in free agency and in the draft. I wouldn't say it's beyond recognition that is a possibility. Like, we saw it happen basically overnight with the run defense, and I'm not asking to be worst to first with pass defense. I'm just asking to not be worst. Like, be middle of the pack, and you got a top 10 defense.
Yeah. Kalamazoo says, I love the Lions, but we have 8 months to go before we play a game again. Oh, he wants to talk Red Wings. That's why he's saying that.
We talked a lot of Red Wings
I'd love to
yesterday.
say that the defense is going to turn around because AG's going to have that pressure on him, but at the same time, like, he does need the pieces. And so for me to be comfortable saying that it will take a jump, I need to see how this is addressed going forward. I do think that Kendall Vildor is kind of like thrown on the bus a little bit for like that playoff game, but you got to realize too, like,
And
he was pretty solid for stepping up like mid-season the way he was.
what pisses me off about that is like when people are like, "Oh, it was a lucky bounce off the face mask. If that didn't happen, it was a penalty anyway."
Yeah, it was still PI in the
They
play.
would have got the ball at the 5-yard line. Like,
Yep.
so it's
No.
not just the face mask thing. It was just a bad play in general. Yeah, the face mask thing made it look worse than it actually was, but
Yes, I mean, if Kendall Fuller is the piece you acquire from free agency, I still would like someone to be drafted with the potential of being like a high upside guy. Obviously, what I feel is that is not always going to be the case because I'm not Brad Holmes. We do trust Brad Holmes. If he doesn't do so, then it is what it is. But I think you do need to set yourself up for the future going forward. And interior defensive line, I think that's not. I'm not talking about a guy just to go in there and do what Aleem did this year, but I'm talking about just a guy to eat blocks. And that's going to help out Hutch. That's going to help out Aleem. We spoke that entire first hour almost. I think get those pieces, and then I'll be able to say that AG is going to stick around here. But if not, I feel like AG is going to be, I mean, fucked, really. That's probably the worst way to say it, but it's not going to go in his favor, in my mind, if they don't address the defense personnel. This is what it is. You can only do so much with the scheme.
Yeah.
Even, who's the guy, the defense coordinator in the Vikings right now? Brian?
Schottenheimer.
No, for the Vikings.
Oh, Flores.
Brian Flores. So you could look at that team and you look at, like, okay, they never had too many names on defense, but they're performing. Well, in the back half of the season, they start getting cut up a little bit. 'Cause you can perform well for like a little bit, but at a certain point, you're going to get exposed. Like, the things you're doing well, like, okay, well, now we see where you guys are thriving.
When you got DeBrickashaw Ferguson out there playing corner, like, it's not going to be great.
Yeah. But, you know, as the season went on, that Vikings defense started to deteriorate a little bit because the film was put on blast and they found out, like, their weak spots. So, like, at the end of the day, you still need pieces to perform. Even like the 49ers defense or the Chiefs defense, like, there's still names. Like, yeah, I 100% am on board with what's his name? I can't think of his last name right now.
Madden.
Huh?
Spagnola.
So, yeah, Steve Spangolo. Is that? I feel like that's
From
Spagnola.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said Spangola.
I said Spagnola, dude.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
I don't have headphones in. Either way,
Speak
I'm all
about-
for giving him credit as being a phenomenal defense coordinator because that's very true. But you also have to point out the George Karlaftis. You also have to point out Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie. Like there are names that follow suit on top. Yeah, Nick Bolton that follow suit on top of him having like the scheme. He also have guys to execute that scheme. I think that was a very case we made for AG in the back half of the season where you started seeing blitz a little bit more. Is like you can have the scheme, but you have to have guys to execute it. Once they got Fonte Miller-Fano, they actually had a guy able to execute those blitzes from the safety position.
Yeah.
And he did it to a T. So,
And that's what I'm saying. They're gonna address that. They're gonna get 2 studs on defense for next year. Whether it comes through the draft, whether it comes through free agency, whether it's 1-1, whatever it is, they're gonna get 2 impact players on defense next year. And I do think it's gonna be a true test of what Aaron Glenn is. And I think he's gonna pass that test. Because I do believe Aaron Glenn is a good defensive coordinator. You know, we've talked to different guys about it. And yeah, nobody's gonna shit on their defensive coordinator, but also Lee McNeil didn't have to say he was a genius. Like, and we've seen stretches of that defense look very good with limited players. So we'll see.